This is my Aphanigaster occidentalis ant colony, and a lot has changed since the last time I posted a video about them. My first video back on YouTube, around 4 months ago, featured me moving this colony from their test tube that they quickly outgrew and into their first nest connected to an outworld. This setup would contain the ants for a few months, but as you may have noticed throughout the clips, this colony has 8 egg-laying queens. Not all species can house multiple queens inside of a single nest, which makes this colony special, but it also means that this colony grows incredibly fast. Fast forward a few months to today, and the colony is thriving. I feed this colony multiple chunks of mealworm and some beetle jelly every other day, and there are always at least 10 workers out in the outworld at any given time. This species of ant is unique because they don't have a social stomach, which means that they need to bring their food back to the nest in order to feed their young. So very often, I watch this colony haul back large chunks of mealworm back to the nest. Taking a look at the colony's current nest, you can see that it has grown full of algae. This algae is non-toxic to the ants and has been present in the nest for months, and the colony has since thrived. You can see that as soon as I take the red cover off, that many workers, including some of the queens, rush out into the outworld. Because there are 8 queens inside of this colony, their numbers have grown rapidly, and it is time for a nest upgrade. I decided to give this colony a new outworld, as well as a new nest, because the current one is very messy, and I have plans to introduce another colony to the ant's current outworld later in another video. This new outworld is pretty similar in size to the old one, and it also provides great visibility. The outworld also features one exit port, which I will use to attach this new nest. Both the outworld and the nest are from Wakuji ants, and I highly recommend their products. The nest that I am moving this colony from is a smaller version of this new nest, and they are both made of the same material, so I am sure that this colony will love it. One thing that I really like about these products are that they are reusable, and they can also be completely taken apart. Previously, I had a different colony in this nest, and once I moved them out, I gave the gypsum a quick rinse under the sink, as well as cleaning some of the other acrylic pieces to the nest, and then it was ready to go. I am also going to add some sand into the new outworld, not only for aesthetic, but also to give the colony the ability to use the sand to customize the nest to their liking, and also because I noticed in the old outworld, whenever I fed the colony sugars, they always covered them in sand. Another reason why I wanted to use a new outworld for this colony was because the tubing dimensions of the old outworld were a lot smaller. Using this equipment instead allowed me to only need one piece of tubing to securely fit the 2 pieces of equipment together, which is a lot more sightly. Once the new nest and the new outworld were connected, the last step was to disconnect the old outworld from the old nest and tap in any ants that were in the old outworld and in the tubing that I disconnected. I also decided to add a barrier to the lip of the new outworld so that the ants could not escape when the lid was off. One of the workers that I tapped into the new setup immediately found the nest before I had even moved the colony, and she seemed very interested in it from the start. My initial plan for moving this colony out of the old nest was to place the old nest inside of the outworld and open the entrance for the ants to find the new nest and explore. But I ended up realizing too late that the outworld's entrance was just barely too small for the nest to fit inside, which caused a problem since there was only one entrance to the nest. After a bit of time and some brainstorming, I came up with the idea to remove the screws of the old nest while making sure that the ants could not escape by pressing down on the clear acrylic with my fingertips. Once all of the screws were out of the old nest, I very quickly removed the acrylic and I grabbed the gypsum block in the middle of the old nest, which was just small enough so that it would fit inside of the outworld. This idea was risky, but it paid off because I managed to be quick enough to where the colony didn't even know what was happening until the nest was already inside of the outworld and not even a single worker escaped in the process. And only after a few moments, the ants started to absolutely swarm the outworld and they went into full panic mode. Workers and queens bolted from the nest and other workers started picking up clutches of brood trying to find safety. It didn't take long for the ants to discover the new nest, and among the first ants to enter the new nests was actually one of the queens. Most of the ants were still scurrying around the outworld, but because this nest was deemed safe, the ants immediately signaled for the colony to make an emergency move, and the ants started swarming into the new nest. As you can see from a top view of the old nest, the colony has tons and tons of brood, mostly consisting of eggs and larvae that the workers were gathering and moving into the new nest. You can see at this point in the move that around half of the queens had moved into the nest, and the connection tube between the nest and the colony was full of activity from the ants, collecting their brood and moving in the queens. Once most of the colony moved into the new nest, you can really see how many workers this colony has now, and that the colony was definitely in need of a nest upgrade. I would guess that this colony has around 100 to 200 workers, and about the same amount of brood. I believe that this new nest is the perfect size for this colony, and that it can last them at least a few months, if not longer than that, if I wait until the nest is completely crowded with workers. It only took around 30 minutes for the majority of the colony to move into the new nest, including 7 of the 8 egg-laying queens. All that was left in the old nest were some eggs that the colony was actively moving, as well as one very stubborn queen ant, who took at least a couple of hours to move, even with multiple workers at once trying to drag her. I managed to catch the clip where the colony finally convinced this queen to move, and once she was inside of the new nest, the move had finally concluded. Checking back on the colony a few days later, this is what they look like. I have to say that I am really happy with the setup and how everything turned out. The colony is absolutely loving their new setup, and you can see workers foraging for food in the outworld, so I gave them some beetle jelly and cut up mealworm pieces. The colony didn't seem too interested in the food, likely because I just fed them the day before. But before we check up on the nest and see how the colony is doing now, I want to thank you all for reaching 5,000 subscribers on my channel. My goal was to reach 5,000 subscribers before the new year, and we ended up reaching our goal weeks before that, ironically on the same day that I got my wisdom teeth pulled. I apologize for having not uploaded in a couple of weeks, but I had to recover from my surgery, and right afterwards came the holidays, as well as my birthday, so I was super busy. But with that said, it is time to start posting weekly videos again on the channel, and I can't wait to create my ant room tour video as promised for reaching 5,000 subscribers. I'm happy to say that this colony is super happy in their new nest, just as I had anticipated. The view inside of the nest currently is not the best because I accidentally overwatered the nest, but you can see that the colony takes up a good portion of it while still having room to grow. I have also noticed that around the corners of the nest, the colony have placed small grains of sand, which I believe to be a sign that they like the humidity. I will update you all again on this colony soon in my 5,000 subscriber ant room tour video coming soon. But until then, I really hope that you all enjoyed this week's video and found it to be entertaining. If you did, please be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Should my new like goal be 10,000 subscribers by the end of the summer? Anyways, thank you all for watching this week's video, and until next time, peace.